My name's Jada, and for as long as I can remember, my parents have been super protective of me. I'm their only child, so they always kept a close eye on everything I did. I wasn't even allowed to stay home alone, not even during the day when I was younger. They just always wanted to make sure I was safe. I used to get annoyed sometimes, but deep down, I knew it came from a place of love. That all changed when I turned 16. My parents had to go out of town to help my aunt move. They were going to be gone from Thursday afternoon until Saturday night. For the first time ever, I was going to be home alone overnight. I was nervous, but also kind of excited. It felt like a big step, and I really wanted to prove I could handle it. Thursday was no big deal. I made myself dinner, watched a bunch of movies, and even stayed up late without anyone telling me to go to bed. It rained that night, soft at first, just tapping against the windows. But I didn't mind. It actually felt kind of cozy. I curled up on the couch with a blanket and ate popcorn while the rain came down harder outside. Friday came, and I spent the day out with my best friend, Kiana. We walked around the mall, grabbed lunch, and talked about everything like we always do. That evening, she came over to hang out for a bit before heading home. My house isn't super fancy, but it's got a little balcony outside my bedroom on the second floor. Kiana and I sat out there wrapped in big blankets, drinking lemonade and watching the rain fall. The wind made the trees sway, and the sky was a deep gray even though it wasn't that late yet. It was kind of peaceful at first, the sound of rain hitting the roof and the soft rumble of thunder far away. But then something weird happened. Kiana stopped mid-sentence and stared across the street. Her face went pale, and I could see something was wrong. "Do you see that guy over there?" she asked, her voice low. I turned my head slowly. Across the street, standing under a flickering streetlight, was a tall man. He was just standing there in the rain, staring straight at us. He wore baggy dark jeans, a bright orange hoodie that looked way too thin for the weather, and his head was almost completely shaved. His face was hard to see, but I could feel his eyes on us. He didn't have an umbrella, and the rain had soaked him completely. He didn't seem to care. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it with shaky hands, and took a long drag, still watching us like he was studying every move we made. Then he flicked the cigarette butt to the ground without looking away. I felt a chill crawl up my arms. Something about him didn't feel right. Trying to stay calm, I told Kiana, "Maybe he's just waiting for someone or passing through." Probably nothing. But she didn't look convinced, and to be honest, neither was I. To break the tension, I grabbed my phone and showed her some silly videos I'd saved earlier. We laughed a little, trying to ignore the man. When we looked up, again he was gone. Just like that. A wave of relief hit me. Maybe it really was nothing. A little while later, around 10 p.m., we went downstairs. Kiana wasn't sleeping over because she had to help her grandma early the next morning. We waited on the front porch for her dad to pick her up. The rain had picked up again, louder, heavier, and the wind blew water across the porch. That's when I smelled it again. Cigarette smoke. Strong this time. And none of our neighbors smoked. I didn't say anything, but my stomach twisted. I had a bad feeling. Kiana's dad pulled into the driveway a minute later. I hugged her goodbye and waved as they drove off. Then I went back inside and locked the front door. The house felt off. It was too quiet. Even with the rain hitting the windows, it felt like the kind of quiet that presses on your ears. I turned on the TV just for some background noise and walked upstairs to clean up the balcony. As I stepped outside, I froze. The smell of cigarette smoke hit me again, and then I saw him. The same man standing under the same streetlight, soaked from head to toe. He was staring at me again, completely still, his eyes never blinking. His orange hoodie clung to his body, and steam rose from it like his skin was burning under the rain. I should have gone inside. I should have closed the door and locked it, right then and there. But I didn't. For some dumb reason, I waved at him. I guess I thought it would make things less scary, like I was being polite or brave. But it made things worse. The man suddenly lit up with excitement. He started spinning around the streetlight like he was in some weird musical, arms stretched out, dancing and twirling in the rain. Then he pressed up against the pole and started grinding on it, moving in slow, creepy circles. It was so gross. I felt sick just watching him. I turned and rushed inside, slammed the door and locked it. I shut all the windows, closed every curtain, and even checked the garage door. I didn't call my parents because I didn't want to freak them out. They'd be home the next day anyway. I tried to sleep, but I kept hearing things, the wind, the rain, and sometimes a soft tapping like fingernails on glass. Saturday morning came, and everything looked normal. The man was gone. I tried to push the memory out of my head and focus on cleaning up before my parents got home that night. I went out with some friends during the day and didn't get back home until after 9 p.m. The rain was still falling, now steadier, heavier. It hadn't stopped since Thursday. I went up to my room, sat out on the balcony for a bit, and stared at the dark street. The rain made everything blurry, and there weren't many cars out. It felt like the whole neighborhood had fallen asleep. I was about to go back inside when I heard something that made my blood run cold. Laughter, but not the sweet kind. It was rough, like someone who smoked 10 packs a day. It echoed through the rain. I leaned over the railing, and there he was again. He was right below my balcony this time, standing in my front yard looking straight up at me. His hoodie dripped water and his smile stretched too wide. I ran. I slammed the balcony door shut, turned off all the lights, and hid in my closet. My hands were shaking as I called Kiana. She picked up right away. I told her everything, and she tried to keep me calm while her dad called the police. But then, from downstairs, I heard glass shatter. He was inside. Tears poured down my face. I tried not to make a sound. What if he finds me? I whispered into the phone. Don't think about that, Kiana said. Stay quiet. Do you have anything you can use to protect yourself? I looked around. Nothing. I was completely helpless. The house went quiet again. I held my breath. Then the closet door flew open. I screamed and dropped the phone, covering my face, waiting for the worst. But then I heard a voice. Jada, it's okay. It's me. It was Kiana's dad. He'd come to save me. He told me he got there just minutes before the police and came in through the broken window. He found the man wandering into the garage and quickly slammed the door shut, locking him in from the outside. Not long after, the police showed up and arrested the guy. Stayed at Kiana's house that night. There was no way I was sleeping in my own room after that. Even now, I don't know who that man was or why he kept showing up. But I still can't sit on my balcony when it rains. Every time I smell cigarette smoke or hear thunder in the distance, I remember his face, watching, smiling, waiting, and I'll never ever wave at a stranger again. So, what about my first story? And where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this creepy tale, make sure to subscribe for more. My name's Diane, and last fall was the worst time of my life. After 15 years of marriage, I left my husband, Malcolm. I thought we were happy, you know? But he'd been cheating on me for years, sneaking around behind my back. When I finally caught him red-handed, I packed my bags and moved out the same week. I found a small house in a quiet neighborhood in Pine Hollow, a sleepy little town where it rains more days than not. I figured the fresh start and gloomy weather would match my mood just fine. We never had kids. That was Malcolm's choice, not mine. And now that I'm older, I guess that door's closed. I was alone for the first time in years, and everything felt heavy. My friends meant well, but I couldn't stand the way they looked at me, like I was broken. I didn't want pity. I just wanted peace. That's when I met my new neighbor, Sadie. She knocked on my door one rainy afternoon with a big smile and a plate of cookies. She seemed warm, kind, and not too nosy, which I appreciated. We sat in my kitchen with coffee and talked for hours like we'd known each other forever. For the first time in months, I laughed. I really thought I'd found a friend. But after she left, something felt off. I went into the bathroom, the one she used during her visit, and saw the drawer where I keep my medication was wide open. Not just a little open, like someone had been digging through it. That drawer has all my prescriptions, mostly for anxiety and sleep. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I told myself maybe I'd forgotten to close it. But deep down, it bugged me. 2 days later, Sadie showed up again, this time with a warm casserole. The sky outside was dark and the rain tapped gently on the windows. She said she figured I could use a home-cooked meal. I let her in and again we had a nice chat, until she started asking weird questions. "Since you moved in," she said, "have you noticed anything strange?" "Strange how?" I asked, frowning. "Like objects moving on their own? Voices at night? Weird dreams or visions?" Her eyes were serious, like she truly believed what she was saying. I laughed awkwardly and said, "No, not really," but inside I was a little freaked out. She saw I was uncomfortable and quickly added, "Don't worry, Diane, it's nothing personal. It's just this house. People who live here, they don't usually stay long." My stomach dropped. "What are you saying? That the house is haunted?" Sadie nodded slowly. "A few years back, a married couple lived here. Everything seemed fine, until the wife found out her husband was cheating. She snapped, bought a gun. I stared at her. Did she kill him?" Sadie didn't answer right away. She just looked at me with this heavy, serious expression and said, "After that, no one lasted more than a few months here. You're the first person to move in alone. Maybe you'll be different." Then she smiled, like we were talking about the weather, and left. That night, the wind howled outside and rain beat hard against the roof. I couldn't sleep. My brain wouldn't shut off. I kept seeing Malcolm's face, imagining him walking into the house and then me pulling the trigger. I didn't want those thoughts. I didn't want to feel that kind of anger. Eventually, I fell asleep. But sometime after 3 a.m., I woke up with a start. I heard footsteps downstairs. At first, I thought maybe I'd imagined it. I held my breath and listened. More footsteps. Slow, soft, but clear. Someone was in my house. Heart pounding, I crept down the stairs and turned on the lights. No one was there, but both the front and back doors were wide open. Rain blew in through the screen, and there were bits of paper all over the floor, soggy and stuck to the wood. I walked closer and realized they weren't just papers, they were pieces of my wedding photos. Someone had found my old wedding album, still packed in a moving box, and torn it apart. Every picture of Malcolm had been cut out, his face scratched up with black marker, big red X's drawn over his eyes. My hands were shaking. Who did this? Was it Sadie playing some twisted prank? Was it Malcolm somehow tracking me down, or was it something else? I picked up the torn photos and stuffed them in a drawer. If someone was messing with me, I needed proof. I locked both doors and checked every room, but the house was empty. I headed back upstairs, trying to calm down. That's when I heard it. Voice. Low and scratchy, like someone speaking through a broken speaker. It sounded like Malcolm, but darker. "Kill him, Diane. Kill him." I froze. It didn't come from one place. It came from everywhere. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. "Kill him," the voice whispered again. "Stop it!" I screamed and ran to my bedroom. I hid under the blankets like a kid, but the voice didn't stop. "Kill him, Diane." The next morning, I went to Sadie's house. I needed answers. Rain was still falling and the air was cold and wet. She opened the door before I knocked. Like she'd been waiting for me, she invited me in and we sat at her coffee table. She placed her purse right in the middle, almost like she wanted me to notice it. "You're scared," she said. "Something happened, didn't it?" I nodded, slowly. "Yeah, last night. It was like you said. I heard voices, awful ones." "And what did they tell you?" she asked, eyes flicking to her purse. "They told me to kill," I whispered. "And someone tore up my wedding photos. They were ruined." Sadie leaned back, almost smiling. "Do you remember doing it?" "What?" I asked. "The photos," she said. "Are you sure you didn't tear them up?" I stared at her. Are you saying I'm losing my mind? I'm just saying, she said calmly. Maybe the stress got to you. Maybe you weren't aware of what you were doing. Something in my chest snapped. I stood up and stared at her. How do you know my ex's name is Malcolm? I never told you. Sadie's face changed. Her smile disappeared, and she stood up, too, grabbing her purse. Maybe you should leave, she said. But I wasn't going anywhere. I grabbed her purse and opened it. Inside, her phone was recording everything we'd said. You were trying to get me to confess, I said, my voice shaking. It's not what you think, she said quickly. You don't even know what I think, I said. You broke into my house, you messed with my meds, I saw my drawer open that first day. You switched my pills, that's why I'm hearing things. You wanted me to go crazy. Sadie looked almost proud. I guess you figured it out, she said with a shrug. But why? I asked. Why would you do this to me? Because I know Malcolm, she snapped. I was with him. He told me everything about you. You ruined his life in the divorce. I gasped. You were one of the women he cheated with? He said you took everything. His money pays for that house you're in. That's not true, I said. I barely got anything. Well, once people see how unhinged you are, Malcolm will be free of you. He'll finally be mine. He loves me. I held up her phone. Your confession's still recording. She laughed. Doesn't matter. I can delete it. One more thing, I said. Malcolm cheated on me with dozens of women. I made him write down their names. You weren't on the list. Her whole body tensed. Then she screamed and lunged at me. I swung her purse and hit her hard across the head. She flew backward and crashed into the coffee table. Glass shattered beneath her. I called the police right then. They showed up fast. I played them the recording. They arrested her on the spot. The next day, Malcolm called me, of all people. Said he wanted to delay his divorce payments. I said, sure, I've got enough for now. Then I told him what Sadie had done. He laughed like it was no big deal. Out of all my girlfriends, he said, she was the crazy one.